This has to be the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And I think that's what makes the game worth it. Today I want to show you an app that I've been using for a few different things, besides leisure. I've actually been using it to kind of get accustomed to moving around in VR using joysticks. But I actually want to dedicate an entire video just about the game itself. So that game is Gun Club VR. This is the starting screen when you actually return to the game. When you first start the game, it actually looks a little different. So when you actually first start the game, it's going to look like this. So I'm going to hit quick setup first. And this is how the game actually starts the very first time you come in. So it kind of guides you through this whole little setup here. You choose what hand you are dominant in, whether you're standing or sitting. You could change these settings later on. Currently I'm going to be standing. Normally when I play this I'm actually sitting, but for the video I'm going to be standing. And then you can adjust the height. I always just stick to auto calibrate so that it does it to my regular height. Now you have different modes here for locomotion. You have teleport. So with teleport, moving the joysticks doesn't actually move you. You have to push the joystick and then it creates that little teleport space that you're going to go to. And then there's an arrow that is going to show you where you're going to face. So if I push the arrow using the joystick to rotate, and that's what happens. So I'm not quite a fan of the teleportation. It does take a little bit of time to get used to it. So right now I'm going to be facing that screen when I let go of the joystick. And there we are. Now, I don't particularly like that right now. The other type is free roam. So with that, you can move the left joystick to go forward, back, left, right. And then the right joystick is going to cause you to rotate. Now, you can change how you rotate using these functions here. Currently, it's at snap 30, so that means it's like a 30-degree turn. You can do a 15-degree turn, where it's not as much of a turn. You can go as much as 45, which is a larger turn. And then you can go with free turn, which for this, I just can't do it just yet. And I'll show you why. This is the slow free motion turn. That alone is making me dizzy. This is medium, and this is fast. That's just not gonna work for me. So I keep it at snap 30 because it's more my speed right now. I'm still getting used to just this type of motion. So for now, I'm gonna keep it at snap turn. In time, as I get a little bit better, less motion sick, I will probably start working on the free turning. Now the movement direction, right now I have it at the camera. So wherever I'm facing, that's where I'm gonna go forward. So if I'm looking here and then I turn here, I'm gonna keep going forward in that direction. If I change it to hand, it doesn't matter where I'm looking at, it's gonna go in the direction that I'm pointing with the joystick. So currently I'm pointing forward. Even though I turn left or right, it still goes towards this little screen because that's where I'm actually facing. My body's facing that way. Currently I just keep it at camera because it's a little bit easier for me. Vignette, that's just a little kind of, it's like a shadow that forms in a circle around the camera itself. You keep it on so that when you start moving, it kind of focuses you towards the center of the camera, and it does seem to help avoid motion sickness, so I keep it on. And then you have some more in-game features. So currently I do kind of have a chest here in this game, and I have a belt where I have a magazine pouch, and then I can put other things like my gun, a knife, a grenade, things like that. And you can adjust the height and how far away it actually is. So currently, let's see, currently we have the magazine height high. If I put it back down to low, you see it's almost at my knees. If I put it at medium, it's a little bit more towards my waist. And then high, it's just above my waist. And then the depth, so here it's actually strapped to my body like it would be in real life. But sometimes that can be problematic when you're actually playing the game. So I try to keep it a little bit further out. So with each increment, it goes a little further away from your body. So this is the farthest away it goes, and you can see it's much farther away. And sometimes it's actually easier to quickly grab your magazine during gameplay when you have it that way. This is about right for me. Now, for this, the stock emulation, I have to get a gun for that. So right now it's off, which means when I bring my hand over to the gun and I hold on to it, I can move the stock all the way around. It's very loose. If I put it on hybrid and I grab, now it stays more centered no matter how much I move my hands. And if I put on, it kind of does the same thing, just a little bit more. Now, at no point does it try to bring the stock up to where your shoulder would be, which is kind of weird. It would be nice if it, when you do that, it kind of fixes to your shoulder, but it doesn't actually quite do that. I like to keep it on hybrid, grip offset amount, low, high. So if you notice how my hands are right now, did you notice that the position of the gun changes from where it was down to a lower position, then it goes higher, then it goes even higher? I have not moved my hand. I have not moved my controller. It is changing the position of the gun in relation to the actual controller. So currently, the ring of the controller is about here at the high setting. Now the ring of the controller is over here. So it changes it so that when you try to grab a gun like this and kind of grip it, your controllers aren't running into each other. So at the high setting, can kind of get a little bit of a better grip. This is mainly for pistols because you would be putting two hands on the same grip, whereas with things like this, your other hand is going to be in the front. Now for the grip toggle, so when it's off, you have to squeeze the grip button in your other hand, in your non-dominant hand, and then it grabs. As soon as you let go, it lets go. So you have to keep it held. Now I can move my hand as far away as I want, and it's still there on the actual grip. Now watch what happens when I let go of the grip button. That's where my hand actually was. So it kind of does that. With hybrid, well, it's not, there we go. Once you actually do grip it, now I'm not holding the grip button anymore on the left hand, and it's still there. I'd have to actually press it a second time to let it go. And then with on, it's pretty much the same thing as hybrid, where I would have to squeeze the button and then it just stays there until I let go, until I push the button a second time to let go. I like to keep it off because I like to be able to just quickly let go. Yep, there's no more options. So there's that. And that's pretty much it. So at the very start, you can play around with your settings. And then once you've gone through all your settings, it'll bring you to the main menu, which is back here. And this is where you're going to actually start every time you come back. This is where you start. You get to choose different save profiles. So now we're actually going to enter the game. And this is going to be your, I guess you could say, your loadout. So this is where you're going to choose your different areas that you're going to play. and go to the store and do upgrades. All the things that you are going to do in the game, you're going to start here. And as you can see, I've already been playing around with these guns a little bit. Normally you would start with your basic guns, and then you can earn cash through missions and then buy accessories and upgrade your gun. So when you first play the game, it's gonna bring you through a tutorial. They'll give you a gun to kind of play around with first, just to get the hang of everything. I believe you only get access to the warehouse at first, and it's just the pistol section where they run you through so that you can understand how the gameplay actually is. And then once you've completed that, you earn some cash, and then they say, okay, now you can go buy your first gun. So they take away the gun that they originally gave you, and then you have to go buy a gun. So you would go to the store, which you could click it on the map here, or you could actually just walk over to the briefcase. It's going to be the same thing. And then you get your choice of guns. Now the thing is, you don't have full access to every gun available in the game when you first start. You actually have to unlock them as you progress through the different stages. So currently, I believe, let's see. So you would have access to, I think once you have access to buy a gun, the first one you have access to is the M9. And I don't recall if the Glock is available until after that. Could be, I could just be wrong. But I think the Glock is available, but so is the CZ75. It's a matter of preference at that point. And they all cost different amounts. They have different stats that go with them. And once you actually do purchase a gun, then you can upgrade it if you have the cash. If you don't have the cash, you have to play some missions, complete them, earn some cash, and then you can actually upgrade. And that's pretty much how it is. And then you can go through the different types of guns. You have your pistols, your submachine guns, your shotguns, your assault rifles, which is, it just means it's a rifle with full auto capability. That's all it really means. And then your sniper rifles, which they're really just rifles. They're just long guns. You know, you put a scope on it, and all of a sudden now it's a sniper rifle. That's basically how they kind of treat it. Some of them are actually very high quality, at least the real versions. And then some of them, it just kind of doesn't make any sense to call it a sniper. Some of these guns just, again, don't make any sense. That's a pistol caliber. You're not going to have a sniper rifle with a pistol caliber. But anyways, you have your bolt actions. You have your magazine fed semi-autos. More bolt actions. What's the next one? I'm going to show you. There we go. And you have your lever action. I guess this would be a sniper rifle from like back in the day. But that's what you have available. You have different styles of guns that you can unlock, that you can purchase. And basically all you're doing is target practice. And the better you get, the more points you get, or the more money you get. The higher your rank gets, the more money you get. And you just keep going back and forth, unlocking, purchasing new guns. And it's all pretty much like rinse and repeat. Now, let's move over here. There we go. Now, the only issue here is that there are some guns you cannot unlock. You actually have to purchase them by buying the DLCs. So you have your SWAT DLC, which is going to have like your AR-15 style or M16 style rifles and those types of guns that you would see with like SWAT teams and such. They have really nice tactical shotguns as well. And then you have the Western, which is just your cowboy guns. I have not purchased them because I haven't felt the need to yet. I'm still just enjoying what is available here. But that is the basics of the actual game. Now, once you have your gun, like this one for example, you can then go to the upgrades, and then you're greeted by what is essentially Jason Statham, and you can purchase accessories and upgrades for your gun. So you can purchase extended magazines, so you have high capacity for it. Can get a little ridiculous. You can purchase ammo that is going to be higher damage, and that is actually going to play a role with certain games. Basically what's going to happen is some of the targets are going to have higher hit points, and if your gun has ammo that is lower damage, if you don't get a headshot, you're going to have to actually shoot the target more than once to actually knock it down. So you would, you can get that. As far as ammo is concerned, you have an infinite amount. The only thing is your magazine doesn't. So when you're empty, you would drop the magazine. In this case, you do so by pushing down the joystick in the right hand. You grab a magazine from your pouch by using the grip button on your left hand, and then you just kind of jam it in there. And then you rack the slide, make sure it's not on safety. That's actually a thing. You can put it on safety. I don't know why you would want to do that. If you have a gun that actually has different modes, single shot, semi-auto, or full auto, you can toggle between those modes as well as the safety. And that's pretty much it. You have it, functionally speaking, visually, I would say it's very impressive. It actually is. All the little, real world functions are there. And if you look carefully, I don't know if it'll show up on camera, but as I rack the slide, you can actually see the round that was in the chamber being pulled out, and it's going to eject. And then it's going to load another round into the chamber. And you can actually see it going in. Very realistic visually. That's about it, unfortunately. The sound obviously is not going to be accurate because guns are loud, and shooting one without ear protection could actually damage your hearing. So obviously they're not going to put that in the game. I guess you can kind of pretend that you're wearing ear protection, and that's why it's not as loud. The other issue about this is, if you notice, the muzzle isn't really rising too much, even though I'm holding the gun in the most ridiculous way possible. In real life, I would not be able to hold on to that gun. Another inaccuracy, but I understand why they do it, is the fact that you can see the path of the bullet. Bullets are fast. You're not going to see that. But it does make sense to have it that way because it makes it easier for you to actually target and shoot things, if you can see the trajectory of it. So it's more of a game function rather than a realistic function. But that's pretty much the basics of it. So you have different staging areas to play around with different targets and different functions. You have your sandbox, which I'm going to show you in a moment. You have the warehouse, and you have the allied. So the warehouse is more of a standard just shooting range, and the allied is more like World War II looking. So it's going to be like Nazi targets coming at you, whereas the warehouse is going to be more current type of targets, where it's your stereotypical gang, or military kind of target. And they do have different gameplay functions with each one, so you can kind of change it up. There's a lot to do, but at the end of the day, it's still just shooting targets. So let's jump into the sandbox real quick so I can show you what that's all about. Okay, so this is the sandbox, and in here you pretty much have full control over most of the things that you can do here. You can spawn different props, different targets. You can change some of the functions. You can change the gravity in here. So far I haven't really played with any of that. It just doesn't appeal to me. But the main thing you can do here that you can't do in any of the other stages is you can test out all the different guns that are available. and all the different accessories, so you can test it out before you actually buy it, so to speak. And you can also, when you first come in here, they kind of walk you through how this all works, and as well as how the target system works. So when you are ready to actually do target practice, you would come over here. You would have that target, which you can adjust the distance of by pushing those buttons. So you can make it go farther away, bring it close up. After you've shot, it's going to create little holes in the paper, but then you can just press reset and it's like a fresh paper. And again, you can choose the different guns here. Now, I already mentioned what this does well, which is basically just the visuals of everything. But I'm going to now tell you what it unfortunately cannot do. So for example, if I spawn this shotgun here, now the dimensions of the shotgun seem fairly close, but also for some of these guns, they seem a little bit too small. And here's the main problem. This is a shotgun. This isn't a light thing. It has weight to it. But because this is just a video game, this is just, you know, it's not real. The only weight I have is the controller in my hand. You wouldn't be doing this with a gun. Now, again, the action is very realistic, visually. But again, that's about it. Because I would never be able to do this with a shotgun in real life, hold it like a pistol, and just kind of shoot like that. I mean, this gun would fly out of my hands in real life. It barely moved. The muzzle barely moved. That's not realistic. But again, I understand why. You want the game to be fun. And if you have to really hold it like a real gun and, you know, really squeeze down on it and really compensate for all that happens in the real world, you're probably not going to have as much fun. So here it's a little bit easier to kind of aim and actually hit something. So let's, yeah. But again, that's just, you know, I think that's going to be a shortcoming for pretty much any type of game, because you don't actually have the thing physically in your hand. But aside from that, it's pretty accurate, I would say, at least, or it gives the feel of realism. Now this doesn't seem as realistic. I have had the privilege of being able to actually physically hold and even fire a couple of firearms. Something like this I've actually had the pleasure of actually target practice with, but this seems small. This seems almost like a toy. But again, the functionality is pretty much there. You know, you pretty much open that up, dump out the bullets, grab some more from your little ammo pouch, load it, and then you can kind of do that. You can pull back the hammer and then shoot. Now, I will say this, that's a bit more realistic. I mean, I still wouldn't be able to hold it that way, but look at how the muzzle, how it goes up, how it rises. That's a bit more realistic. Oh. Now, let's go to, yeah, there we go. Now this, I've also had the privilege of firing something like this. This seems a little bit more accurate in the dimensions of it. Now, this is a lever action, so after you actually fire, you would have to bring this lever forward, which would engage, it would actually eject the spent shell casing, and it would, when you bring it back, it would load a new one. In here, the way you do it is if you have it single-handed, you just press the button in the controller, and it's going to do that Hollywood style cocking of the gun, which, you know, it looks nice, but that's about it. Now again, you wouldn't be able to do that in real life. You'd have to have two hands. You'd have to have it pressed up against your shoulder for stability. Now, in order to actually engage it again, you still push the button, but this time it's not going to do that Hollywood style. It's just going to allow you to actually do that, which is pretty nice actually. And then you would let go so that you can actually fire the gun. So visually, very nice. Does a decent job, I would say. But again, that's kind of where it ends. Everything else is not as realistic, but that's okay. That's perfectly okay. For a game, especially for the price, it's actually quite fun. It's really nice. I've been using it mainly for just to get used to the Locomotion without, you know, with the joysticks, that is, while I'm actually stationary in real life. And I'm getting better at it thanks to this. Now let's exit here. Here's another shortcoming. So you would, to leave, you would hit leave. Watch what happens. Nothing. I always have to do it twice. For some strange reason, I always have to actually do it twice to actually exit one of these stages. Now, I'm going to show you what one of these actual events, these little target practice events, actually look like. I'm going to show you the warehouse, and then I'm going to show you the allied, and I'll probably also show you what the zombie ones look like. Okay, so I'm going to show you the warehouse first, just the basic. So currently I have my pistol on the uncustomized version. Let's go to a very simple, easy level so you can see what it's like.
3, 2, 1, moving.
So sometimes it doesn't always work the way you want it to, where you try to grab the gun and it doesn't always actually grab it. That's one of those learning curves that you kind of have to do. Kind of have to get used to that. That's why you can adjust where your gun is, where the belt is, and all that. But if you noticed at the beginning, there was a blue rectangle. So when you start each one of these missions, you're kind of trapped in that little spot. You can move around a little bit, but you can't go further out into the level. With these standard type of missions, you're kind of just stuck here, and the targets pop up and you shoot them. You can also shoot these barrels and they explode. And there you go. And with the more advanced levels, the action levels, what's going to happen is you start in one place, you take out a few targets, and then it has you move to another area where you can either physically move there, or you can kind of just face it and then teleport there. And then more targets pop up. You take care of those, and then you move on to the next. And that's kind of how it works, pretty much for all the levels that are action-based. Whether it's in the warehouse, which is this area, or in the allied level, which I'll show you in a moment. It's pretty much the same. It's just the action is the same. It's just a different little area. So let's exit here. So at the end of each level, you earn cash after you complete the level, and then you come back here so you can choose something else. Now let's go to the allied, and this time I'm going to start with the pistol already in my hand. Actually, let's have some fun with it. So this is pretty much how ridiculous you can get with this game. It allows you to customize things, put rails, put additional Picatinny rails so that you can put even more accessories. This is just completely ridiculous. You're not going to do this in real life. I just thought it looked funny. Now, I do like the way the 3 red laser dots are on the bottom. It kind of reminds me of the Predator movies. So I kind of did that. You have your suppressor, you have your extended mag, you have your little red dot sight there as well. You have a bunch of different things that you could customize, and it's more for like personal preference. They do change the functionality a little bit, but you're going to see in a moment that I don't even have to aim down the sights with this gun once I have all this stuff on it. So we're going to start with, again, another easy one, just to kind of get through it quickly.
3, 2, 1, go!
So as you can see, these are like your Nazi targets. They shoot back as well. And I'm kind of stuck in this rectangle, as you can see. So I can't go any further.
Headshot.
Notice, I'm not even holding the gun the way you would normally hold it, because I don't need to, the way this is set up. But as you can see, you kind of get your cash. I didn't do too well because I wasn't paying attention. But you know, you earn your cash and then you can buy your stuff. So we're gonna exit here and then we're gonna come back and I'm gonna do a zombie level just so you can see what that looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the warehouse again for this. And let's prepare ourselves. Because with the zombie levels, you're gonna need a lot of ammo. Now I'm gonna keep it simple just so I can get through it quickly.
3, 2.
With the zombie levels, again, you're kind of stuck in this little rectangle here. They changed the color of everything to, I guess, look like an old zombie movie. Currently, the zombies are moving slow, but the thing is, they're moving. They're moving at you. Whereas in the other levels, when there's no zombies involved, they don't do that. As it gets harder, you get more zombies and they move faster. And for the most part, you need to shoot them in the head. Because if you shoot them in the leg, they keep coming. Shoot them in the arm, they keep coming. Maybe if you shoot the other leg, they fall, but here you want to do headshots mostly.
Headshot. Great shot.
And, you know, again, they're just these cardboard targets, but it's fun. Would I like something more realistic? Sure, but that's not really what this game is.
Stage clear.
And there you go. So that's pretty much the basics of the game. Rinse and repeat. Do the same thing over and over again. You get to unlock more levels. You play more of those levels. You earn more cash. You unlock more guns. I think at some point when I've completed all of this, maybe then I'll decide to actually buy the DLC, which the SWAT DLC I think takes place in like a train, like a subway station. So it's a completely different level. You have different guns as well, and the Western, of course, is kind of like in a like a Western town, high noon type of deal. Maybe I'll actually purchase that once I've done with this, but I still have a lot to go through when it comes to this. But that's basically it. It's not an expensive game, and if you get it on sale, it's even cheaper, obviously, and it's worth it to me. Just don't come in here expecting the most realistic experience where you think you're really there holding a gun. It's never going to happen. I only mention that because before I bought this and before I had VR, I saw these videos for this exact app from these YouTubers, and some of them were saying, oh, it's the most realistic experience I've ever had. It's like I'm really holding a gun. You know, and that's only if you've never held a gun before that you might think that. That's the only explanation for it, because that is not like holding a real gun. Not even close. Visually though, it is really appealing and it's fun, but that's about it. So take it for what it is. If this is something you're interested in, and you think you would have fun with it, knowing that there are limitations, go for it. Again, it's not an expensive app, and if you happen to find it when it's on a sale, that's when I would grab it. That's what I did with this one. But that's pretty much it. That's all I got for you. So if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you're not already subscribed and you wish to, please do. And with any luck, I'll see you in the next video. And until then, take care.